Who signs a business contract, and how do you make sure the contract is signed correctly? These are the questions I get asked frequently. Hi, and welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Paige. I am the owner and lead attorney behind The Legal Paige. I help small business owners get legally legit without breaking into hives. If simple and easy legal tips are just what you need, please subscribe to my channel. In today's video, I want to break down how to sign a contract online legally, because the last thing you want are the big legal consequences that come when your contract wasn't even signed correctly from the get-go. So the first thing I want to talk about is going over who needs to sign the contract and why it's incredibly important that all parties to the contract sign in the bottom dotted line. So of course, your clients should sign the contract. These are the people who retained you. It's usually one or two people, and they're the ones paying for your fees. So if you just are in communication with one client, then it would make sense to just have them sign the contract. But the caveat here is for weddings and events in particular, you're usually going to have two spouses. So you're going to want two clients to sign the contract. So there'll be three parties to the contract, your two clients, and then yourself as the business owner. Now, this is important because if you have multiple parties and clients to a contract, then they are what's called jointly and severally liable for fees to be paid and responsibilities under the contract. So if you're only in communication with one and payments aren't being made and things aren't going, as planned, you can always try to reach out to the other person, and they are jointly and severally liable, especially for, if you do have to go to collections purposes for payments to be made. Now, sometimes you also may have a third party making payment for your services. This oftentimes happens for weddings. So if you're a wedding vendor, you're probably very accustomed to this occurring. Not all the time, but sometimes somebody wants to gift them your services. And in these instances, you want to ensure that the four corners of your regular service contract are still signed by the two clients, so two spouses to the contract for your wedding and event, and then it'll be signed by you as the business owner, and then you will have what's called a third-party payer addendum attached to it. Now, these people don't actually sign the four-corner service contract because they're not the clients that you're actually serving, but they need to sign on to all of your payment policies within your third-party payer addendum. Oh, and if you find out later down the road after your clients have signed the contract that someone else did pay on behalf of the clients, it's really easy to still add in that third-party payer addendum and have the person who paid for your services sign that after the fact. And then finally, make sure you're signing the contract as the business owner. If you're a sole proprietor or an LLC, usually you are the managing member of your LLC and you are authorized to sign on behalf of your company. If you're in a different situation, like you're incorporated or you're a partnership, just make sure it's someone who is authorized to do business and sign contracts for your company that is signing on the bottom dotted line. The second thing I want to talk about is effective dates. So it's really important that you don't put at the top of an online contract, this contract is going to be effective on X date. Here's the reason why. Oftentimes, it's hard to backdate something when all the parties haven't signed the contract. It's possible, but it's probably not the best way to go about signing an online contract. So instead, you want a clause at the top that says that this contract shall become effective upon the date of both parties' signatures below. And here's what that means. You are probably going to be signing the online contract at different times, especially if you have two or three or more parties to the contract. Your clients are going to look at the contract first, then they're going to sign it, send it back to you, and then you're going to sign it. So because those are at two different times, you want the effective date to be the last date that the final party signed the contract. And then, of course, that date and time would make the effective date valid for the contract. So the third thing I want to talk about is electronic signing. Of course, you're probably sending your contracts to your clients online. Nowadays, it's really custom to do this. Back in the day, it's really custom to sit down in person and talk with people across from the table, get to know one another, go through the contract, right in front of your client or clients and be able to discuss things related to the clauses and the provisions within your contract. But it's hard to do that nowadays when you're sending everything online. So how do you make sure that that electronic signature is valid? Obviously, having your clients assign your contract in this digital age has never been easier, but I absolutely want to make sure you do it correctly. First things first, please make sure that you are using a reputable online contract signing platform. Now, these can just be contract signing platforms like DOCUSIGN, HELLOSIGN, Adobe Sign. Those are great, but you can also use what is integrated within your client management system. So Honeybook, Dubsado, 17 Hats. I think there's a few others as well. I just haven't listed them here. They'll probably be listed in the description box below, but all of those have the ability to send contracts online and automate electronic signatures, and that's what you're looking for. So these CRMs or contract signing platforms are smart, and they're going to timestamp when your client or clients sign the contract using their unique email addresses that you sent the contract to, and these platforms are going to track the IP addresses where the client signed the contract. All of this is done within the online contract signing platform. That's why it's really important to just pay a little bit to make sure that you're using a reputable platform to do this, because they're going to do what's called a digital signature stamp. And this is a good way to track the signatures on your end and prevent fraud. Also, within these platforms, your clients can only sign in designated areas that you put that they need to sign. So this is important as well, because then your clients know exactly where to sign, and the contract is going to automate sign here, initial here, before the contract signing is complete. Now, you are going to get people who are going to sign on behalf of their spouses or their family members, and there's really nothing you can do about that online. They have essentially validated that that person agrees to the terms and conditions within the contract if they're signing on behalf of them. But I would just encourage you to tell your clients that you need them to sign the contract on behalf of themselves when they're doing it online. And finally here, let's talk about an electronic signature clause. So within your CRM or online contract signing platform, the very last clause of your online contract needs to be an electronic signature clause. At the legal page, we call this a counterparts and facsimile signature clause. Same, they mean the same thing. And what this does is it has language in it that explains that the contract may be signed in two different parts and may have facsimile or electronic signatures, and both of those still make the contract valid as a whole when all parties sign the contract. This clause is extremely important because it reduces any risk for disputes regarding electronic signatures in the future. The fourth note I want to make is initialing certain clauses in an electronic contract or each page. So usually contracts online don't have pages that you flip through. Sometimes they do, but a lot of times CRMs are just one big contract that you scroll down to the bottom and sign. Now, you may want to have your clients initial certain clauses. The one thing I want to say legally here is that it's absolutely not necessary. They are agreeing to all of the terms and conditions, provisions, and clauses in the contract when they sign on the bottom dotted line. But there may be times that you need your clients or want your clients to initial certain clauses to ensure that they understand and have read them. It's like a double proof, double dip situation where you know that they're signing the contract and agree to the terms, but that they also made sure to look at that specific provision. Now, again, this isn't necessary. Some online contract signing platforms don't allow you to put in initials, so that's okay. But if you are allowed to do so, some clauses that would be good for your clients to initial, if you're wondering which ones those are your fee and retainer clause, cancellation and rescheduling clause, if you have an assumption of risk clause, or any clauses in your contract that have bold or highlighted information in there, so all caps per se, so that they're really conspicuous to your clients, then those would be good ones to initials. And then any type of representation or warranty clauses are good to initial as well. Oh, and one more thing. If After signing the contract, it's valid, the effective date is in place, everybody signed the contract. You need to modify or amend a very, very small part of your contract, and you don't want to have to sign an additional, four-corner contract amendment or addendum. Sometimes your online contract signing platform will allow you and your clients to initial changes to the contract. So for example, here in the fees clause, you can see that there is a place for the client's initials. If your CRM or online contract signing platform allows you to, you would want to have a must fill that your clients with an asterisk here have to initial this clause so that they have just taken an extra peek and look at this clause and agree to the terms within it. So that's another way that you might use initialing when you are utilizing contracts online. The fifth thing I want to talk about is business formation. So if you are registered as something beyond a sole proprietor, such as an LLC, or you're incorporated, an S-Corp, remember, is just a tax designation. So we're just talking about the legal entities here that would be separated from you as a person. So your business is a separate legal entity. Then you, as long as you own the business, if you're a single member LLC, there's no one else that can sign and authorize things on behalf of your business, you would be the one to sign on behalf of your business on the bottom dotted line. But if you are incorporated as an LLC or Inc., then you don't want to put your first name at the top of the contract because you are not binding yourself to the contract, you're binding your company to the contract. For example, here, the beginning of this agreement says that it's between client one, this would probably be your actual client's first and last name, and then it would be between the legal page, LLC company. So then at the signature lines on the bottom, you want to designate the signature lines for your client or clients. Each client will sign on behalf of themselves because they're probably not a company. If they are, then they would be authorizing the company under the contract to agree to the rights and responsibilities and roles under the contract. But usually it's just single people. So client one or client one and client two, and then you would have your business name signing the contract. And as long as you are an authorized representative to sign and bind your company to a contract, then you are okay to sign on behalf of your company. Again, just don't use your first name here. On the flip side, if you're a sole proprietor and you're not a registered LLC or incorporated or anything along those lines, then you would be signing on behalf of yourself. So it would be the agreement is between client one, client two, and Paige Griffith in parens doing business as and list your business name because your business name actually isn't a business entity and can't bind itself to contracts. Only you as the person can bind yourself to a contract, and then you're just doing business as a different name. One last thing, in most states with LLCs and C corporations who have multiple members, usually all of the managing members are authorized to sign contracts on behalf of the company. So you just want to triple check that the person who is signing on behalf of your company is authorized to do so. I see a mistake getting made the most when companies are having virtual assistants sign their contracts on behalf of the company, and you don't want to do that. You want to make sure that only the authorized managing members of your LLC or C corporation are the ones signing on the bottom dotted line. And the final sixth thing that I want to talk about is leaving the signature field blank on behalf of your company when you send the contract off to your clients. So there should be no signatures on the bottom dotted line when you send the first time your contract to your clients. This is really important because if you sign the contract and then your clients want edits or modifications or clarifications to the contract after they first see it, then you have to re-sign the contract again. You have to edit it, re-sign it, and send it back to them. It's best to just have the signature fields blank online when you're sending the contract to your client or clients, and then they can review it. If they agree to all of the terms, then they sign the contract, send it back to you, and usually your online contract signing platform will notify you that your clients have made their signatures and it is validated, and now it's your turn to sign the contract. I always suggest that the business signs the contract last. And then usually it's automated. So once all parties that are implemented into the online contract signing platform sign on the bottom dotted line, then the contract is completed and signed and valid. And usually your platform will automate a final executed copy and send that to your clients. If it doesn't, then just make sure that you're downloading a secure PDF version, encrypted version, so nobody can edit it, and you're sending that off to your clients for their own record and documentation purposes. And then, of course, you would want to keep a copy of the executed contract for yourself as well. But again, just to reiterate here, usually your online contract signing platforms are going to do this for you, which is a beautiful thing on why you want to utilize them. Overall, the best way to operate your business legally is to ensure that everyone that's involved in the transaction and your services is signing the contract the right way. And I've talked about all of those reasons here today in the 6 different points. Now, obviously, your main client agreement is absolutely essential to run a legal business, but there are also other legal documents that you need to have in place. The video that just popped on your screen here will walk you through all of the key legal documents that you need to have as a small business owner to ensure that your business as a whole is protected. So I definitely suggest checking it out.